Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge,
And I'm Ashley Sledge.
and let's talk horror.
So today we are kicking off our 4 weeks of Sledgemas, where we are going to review a horror Christmas film every week for the next 4 weeks. And today we're going to start with Bob Clark's 74 slasher, Black Christmas. Definitely before its time. It still holds up today as one of the best slashers ever, in my opinion. Delivering all the tropes we now see in the slasher genre.
So this is going to be a spoiler review. If you guys haven't seen it, first off, we're going to do our positives and negatives spoiler-free. Then we're going to give you our spoilers and our overall final thoughts. So let's get to it, and let's start with the positives.
So some of the positives in this film, they really knew less is more. They build the suspense. They're not showing the killer. You really don't see him at all. He's mostly hidden throughout. The only time you actually see him is when he is looking through the crack in the door and you just see his wide eye. And I think that is so terrifying. It leaves your imagination going, and it's super scary just have him kind of lurking in the shadows.
Right. His weird moans and screams over the phone really build up his character, like this. Again, absolutely terrifying to be getting phone calls like this in 1974, pre-caller ID. So that's a big part of it as well. But he just seems so unhinged and manic, making him even more terrifying. Not knowing who he is and just getting these phone calls is absolutely terrifying.
I agree. The POV camera shots of Billy doing the killing, I love that. It kind of like puts you in the actual mind of the killer, and as he's stalking the sorority girls, you're gonna see what he's doing. That's awesome. That was very much so before its time in 74.
And I do love the reoccurring shot of Claire when she's up in the attic. No one knows that she's dead.
No, nobody knows where she's at. Everyone's looking for her.
They
Dad,
have
her sorority.
no idea. They're out doing search parties for her. Little do they know she's literally right upstairs. So that to me is another terrifying aspect of this film. You don't know where your best friend is, your sorority sister, your daughter, and she's dead right above you.
The comedy, it really lands in this movie. You have Mrs. Mack. She's hilarious just in the way she acts. And then she has all these different hiding spots for her booze. It's amazing. It makes me laugh every time.
It's like every room, she has a different spot where she pulls booze out of.
Yeah.
So she could be drinking no matter where she's at.
Pulling it out from behind the toilet. It's hilarious. I love Mrs. Mack. She's probably one of my favorite characters.
And two of the funniest moments to me are when you first have Barb telling him about the call, which is the fellatio call.
Fellatio 20880. Fellatio. It's a new exchange. FE.
Which he obviously has no idea what the hell that means. And then you get it later on. You get the payback of it when he's telling the deputy all about, or the sheriff all about the call.
Yeah, Felicia. One of the girls that was in this afternoon gave it to me.
She gave it to you.
I know. Something dirty, ain't it?
So you have both of these, and I don't know what it is, but there's just something about both of these scenes that make me laugh so hard. Like, fellatio, oh, it's something dirty, isn't it? That whole scene to me.
It's so funny. The payout of it is amazing.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah. So this movie, it really was before its time. Like I've said a couple different times. It came out in the 70s, and women, they didn't normally stick up for themselves or say things like this.
I'm gonna have an abortion.
You can't make a decision like that. You hadn't even asked me.
I wasn't even gonna tell you.
Huge moment of the film.
It's amazing. And like I said, it was unheard of for women to put themselves before a man and say, I'm not gonna have this baby. I don't want this baby. And then
he's so violent.
Yeah.
Like you already see his violent tendencies when he's breaking the piano. It's my way or no way. To him, you're my property.
Which shows really how unhinged he is. So they're kind of like placing that seed.
The red herring of...
Yeah. So, I mean, he's unhinged, and it's my way or no way. You're my woman. You're going to have my baby. You're going to stop everything that you want to do. No, I'm not. And I love that about this film.
You can't ask me to drop everything I've been working for and give up all my ambitions because your plans have changed.
This whole movie has like that, even for the 70s, like masculinity, men are in control. And this is their way of fighting back to that. You know, Billy, the way he's screaming at them on the phone and the dirty things he's saying to them, or Peter, and you're not going to have an abortion. You are going to quit school.
You are not going to abort that baby.
Peter, you're not going to tell me what I can and cannot do.
And this is their way of kicking back and saying, no, we are the ones that are in control here. And this does have one of the scariest climaxes of all time. Now, they weren't the first people to do this.
No.
He says the calls are coming from number 6 Belmont Street.
For Christ's sakes, Nash, you got it wrong. That's where the calls are going into.
That's where they're coming from, too, sir.
But it is still just as effective when you hear, you know, the calls are coming from inside the house.
That's one of the most chilling things. Like the calls, they're already in your house, you know, they're not trying to get in, they're already in. That's terrifying to me.
And they've been here this whole time.
Watching every move, and they know your next move. They're watching you. It's so scary.
So like I said, they weren't the first ones to do this, but I think Black Christmas is, between this and When a Stranger Calls, is where this line is most effective. So those are some of the positives we wanted to talk about. Let's get into some of the negatives about the film.
So some of our negatives, the little girl's death, it's kind of like a side story. It felt like it wasn't really needed. And Claire's dad, when he sees the little girl and the mom is next to him, he seems so cold and just, he doesn't seem like he cares that much.
I hate to sound cold, but I think at the same time, like, he hears there's a dead body,
Like
he's like, it might be my daughter, and now it's that relief of, oh, it's not, but at the same time, like, it's still somebody's daughter. It's a little girl.
It's still her daughter. Like, you could have, like, you know, maybe not even let her see this dead little girl. Like,
and to me, it's just, this whole thing was a big red herring anyway. Like, is this the same killer? Like, I agree with you. I don't think that really wrapped up the way that it should have. And another, you know, there is some bad pacing throughout the movie. There are some points that you're really slogging through. And the dialogue sometimes doesn't really hold up to, you know, today's standards. But again, we're kind of reaching for some of these negatives.
Yeah,
we really are.
We really had to find some negatives because we both love this
Yeah,
movie
we're both
so
huge fans. So a lot of these, like I said, they are reach, but they are there.
Yeah.
So, you know, the bad pacing is one that at certain times you're like, you know, if a kid watches for the first time today after watching, like, you know, any other slasher, you know, Friday the 13th, you know, later Halloween movies, Nightmare on Elm Street, they would look at this and go, wow, this is a really slow pace, slow burn. So if you're not into slow burns, this is probably not the film for you.
And they're also, you know how I love my kills. I like to see the gorier, the better. There's a lot of off-screen kills in this. Someone getting pulled away. It's in the shadow. You don't get to see much of the kills. Which
could be a budget thing.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen some blood.
Me too.
You know, so a little bit more gore. One thing for me, it's slightly unbelievable how inept most of the police are at doing their job sometimes. We talked about it a little bit ago. She's upstairs in the attic. And you haven't found her yet. Like, you didn't think to search the house where she's at.
Right.
So to think about how inept some of these police officers really are, I think it's just like, it's a little far-fetched.
Yeah.
But
something else that's a little far-fetched is the dead cop that's outside the house that's supposed to be, like, watching the house. You're telling me that Billy had time to go out and kill this cop and nobody seen him? No one from the house, no neighbors, no nothing. Like, that again seems a little far-fetched to me.
Then he was able to get right back inside.
Right back inside. Yeah, he must have, like, a really good way to get inside that attic.
Right. And then, you know, on the phone, he talks a lot about, what'd you do, Agnes? What'd you do, Billy? We never find out who Agnes is, and we never really find out what Billy's true motive is, which for me is fine. I don't need you to gift wrap a story for me to open up and have the perfect explanation, but I know that a lot of people want an ending.
Yeah.
This movie really doesn't have one, and we're going to get more into that here in a second in the spoilers, but for me and Ash, I think this is a great way to end the movie, but we wanted to be from a critical point of view, and I know there's a lot of people that would not like the way the film does come to a conclusion. It definitely leaves it open-ended, which is great, because we got It's Me, Billy, but that's the big thing for me, is it was left open-ended, and a lot of people are not going to like the way this film ends. If you want a, you know, cut and dry,
this
concrete,
is what happened.
this is it, this is what happened.
Black and white, no gray area.
Right. So those are, like I said, we stretched on some of them.
We did.
So those are some of our negatives, but now we are going to get into the spoilers and our final thoughts of the film. All right, guys, so you've had your warning. We are now going to spoil this film. We're going to talk about some of our favorite kills, and we're really going to get into the ending of this film and the overall message. So you want to go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, so one of my favorite kills, and probably the most iconic kill in my opinion, is Barb. She's getting killed with the unicorn, and as Billy is stabbing her with the unicorn horn, there's carolers outside, and they keep cutting to them, singing their Christmas songs and cutting back, and this is actually very brutal, and you get some blood here, so I think that one's definitely my favorite.
This is probably the best kill because it's the one that is shown the most.
It's shown the most.
Even this one still is kind of slightly off screen. You don't see a lot, but what you do see is effective.
Yeah. Every time he pulls up, there's blood on the horn.
Right.
I think it's the best one.
Right. And then you get the closet kill. Claire killed with the bag over her face. You know, she's getting ready to walk out of the closet. The bag comes, pulls her back in. Again, we don't see Billy here.
Right.
But we do get a great kill of Claire getting pulled back into that closet and suffocated with a plastic bag. So a terrible way to die. In my opinion, one of the worst ways to die is suffocation. So
oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the ones that, again, it's not very effective to look at, but the thought behind it of what's happening, being suffocated like that, truly a terrible way to go out.
And then you have Mrs. Mack. She gets hooked and then dragged up to the attic. And this is another one you don't really get to see. You get to see the hook coming down, and then you see her feet getting dragged up into the attic. So you really only see like the bottom half of her. I know, Mrs. Mack. Why'd you have to get Mrs. Mack? She probably would have shared her booze. Billy.
I was gonna say she was probably too drunk. Not you, Mrs. Mack. It's not the ending, obviously. They set up this whole thing that Peter is the killer.
Yes.
We see how unhinged he is when he's breaking the piano with the microphone stand, how he treats Jess when things are going wrong.
Just how really just creepy and like he's kind of mysterious in a way.
Yeah. And then when the calls are being made, they're saying things about the abortion and stuff like that. That, you know, her and Peter had this conversation. How would anybody else know about this? So Jess has it in her head that it's Peter. Well, at the end of the film, Jess is hiding in the basement. You see Peter creeping around the house. He goes down. We don't know what happens. The next thing you know, the door's open. Peter's laying in her lap dead. She beat him to death with a fire poker.
Yeah.
So, you know, the police are there now. They're putting Jess in bed.
So she got the killer.
Right. So we got the killer. Peter's gone. But we then find out that this isn't truly a happy ending because the police officers leave and Jess is still there.
And mind you, she's there and she's like in this catatonic state. Like she just killed her boyfriend. That's the father of this unborn child. Like she's not with it, and they all just leave her. And
even though he was a dick, she was in love with him.
She was, yeah. She
just took another human being's life.
Absolutely.
So,
I think anybody would have been in that state, and they just left her there. Like this is one that, like, this terrifies me.
And then you see that, you know, that we have the zoom out of Claire still being in the attic.
Yes.
And Billy is still in the house, and that's where we end. So, like I said, you have an ambiguous ending here because, you know, Billy's still there. Claire's body's never been found. Jess is in pretty much a catatonic state right now.
So will he kill her? Like, does he kill her? We don't ever know. It's kind of up to our imagination.
And as we know, this spawned a sequel in a remake in 2006 under the same name, Black Christmas, and then another remake in 2019, Black Xmas, which completely missed the mark, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Black Christmas 2006 has some redeeming qualities.
It does.
I still think 1974 is the cream of the crop when it comes to the Black Christmas.
Absolutely.
And then you got the fan film, It's Me, Billy, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait for the sequel, It's Me, Billy 2, which is happening right now at the time of filming. So overall, I think the big message in this movie is, you know, woman empowerment, really. And for 1974, that's a big thing. And we talk about how horror has always been, you know, full of social issues.
Oh, yeah.
And at this time, when it was still a woman is a housewife, the man makes the money, these women are very independent. They're sexual. They are, you know, they are proud of themselves. They know who they are. They know what they want.
They have ambitions. They want to. They want to work. They want to be out in the workforce. They're going to school to better themselves. They don't want to stay home and cook and clean and be a mother. Like they want to go out and be in the workforce and help. You know, society, which is awesome. And
it showed a realistic time. You know, you had these college girls. Like I said, they were very sexual. There's a lot of very, you know, a lot of the sexual talk and the stuff that's up all around the house that Mrs. Mack is trying to hide when Claire's dad shows up.
Like you're not supposed to be. You're just supposed to be a woman.
Yeah, a prissy little woman.
Prissy little princess.
And this was very realistic on how women are when they're. I'm assuming there's not really pillow fights and stuff when we're not around guys, but. That's what he does. So overall, this is a movie that we love. We watch this movie every Christmas, and I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5, which is probably the highest ranking I think I've ever given a film that we've reviewed versus or didn't see that coming. I absolutely adore this film. I love the idea of the woman empowerment that it shows. That it shows that, you know, at a time when you shouldn't be like that, they were. And they came out and they gave you a strong message, and they gave you a great killer in Billy. Not a big fan of what they did with Billy and Agnes in 2006. I get that they opened up the story of who Agnes was, and you did a lot of that. But
they could have gone about it a different way, and I think it would have been perceived better. In my opinion, that the way they went about it made me not like it as much.
Right. And I like the mystery of Billy.
Yeah.
That's something I've always really enjoyed, was the mystery of who is he? Is he someone we've seen throughout the film? Is he just a crazy person that's been up there the whole time? So this whole movie really is about, you know, like the man in charge, you know, with him on the phone, with Peter talking to her, the way the cops act towards the women. It's all about that masculinity and a lot of toxic masculinity in this movie. And that's not something I throw around because I really don't like that term a lot. But I love the fact that this is a movie that came out and just said, fuck you. We're going to do what we want to do. We're going to show you how these women are independent and strong and can take care of themselves and their sisters. And you have every range from, you know, the drinking problems to the over-sexuality to Jess, who is now pregnant. And like, there's so many different things that happen in this movie that we're such big fans of. So
Absolutely. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 for all the reasons that you said. You really went in depth with all that.
Sorry.
And no, you're good. I really love the cast. Most of the cast, like, I really, you know, feel for them. You don't really want them to die. Like, you actually care about this cast. Where in the 2006 one, they're like Mean Girls, and I didn't care if any of them died. But these ones, I really do. And it's just the mysterious of Billy and him just creeping in the shadows and just watching them. It scares me. And like I said, that ending, it is one of the most scary. Like, the ending just terrifies me. Gives me chills every time I watch it.
Especially if you put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, just thinking, that's what I do. I think I would be there in this, you know, this state of, I'm out of my mind and this killer is still in the house. Like, that scares me.
And again, I'm a huge fan of this movie. I do like the 2006 one. I think it has its flaws, but it's a fun movie. The 2019 one, I don't ever have any interest in watching again. I feel like they really dropped the ball on what the message was supposed to be for the film.
Honestly, I feel like they made this film and they were like, let's just slap Black Christmas onto this, because that's really what they did.
Right. So we want to thank you guys for watching. Let us know, what do you think of Black Christmas 1974? Where does it rank in your overall slasher? For me, this is in probably my top 5 slashers of all time. Where does it rank for you guys? Are there any movies you would like to see us review in the future? So I can tell you that next week, obviously, for those of you that follow the channel, we were supposed to do a different review today. Mix-ups happened. We weren't able to do that the way we wanted to, but we were very happy because we were able to do this movie, which we've wanted to do for a long time. If you want to hear us go more in depth about Black Christmas 74 versus 2006, I have the link to our Versus episode down in the description, as well as all our social media links. So if you're not already, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you know. And follow us on social media. Those links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror.
Stay who you are.
And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys.